Okay guys, so just so you know, I will be eating in this video because I'm a little hungry. It's just toast is all it is. Uh, but welcome to my review for Season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is a... Sorry, I shouldn't have started the review like this. This season is a little darker, and it, like last season's rating, or whatever it is, like in Australia we have like M, which is kind of like America's PG-13, and in this season it's MA 15 plus, which in America is could be like PG-13 or R, whatever it is. This season goes a little darker. It's a little bit more serious and not quite as light-hearted as last season was, and I like that. I like when stories try to be more serious and be a little darker, because that way they can aim it toward a more adult audience. And I just like the... I like this season for the most part because of that seriousness. I do have some problems with it, but I'll get into that a little later. This season started off really great with Coulson's carvings, the mysterious return of Sky's father, the aftermath of what happened with Fitz and Simmons, and that situation there, and also the introduction to a pretty big Hydra head, Daniel Whitehall. So this season, for the most part, was great. It had a great solid start. I was kind of interested in what was happening at first in this season. And this season also introduces a ton of new characters. I've written down a lot for this season, so I'm going to just go back and forth between looking at this and looking at you guys. New characters like Hunter and Bobby and Mac are great. They are my favorite of the new characters, and they're the characters that have lasted the longest, because there were a few other new characters that, you know, didn't really make it or weren't really cut out, and these were the three that lasted the longest, and for good reason, because they are just great characters. Hunter and Bobby, the romance between them was interesting to say the least. You don't quite know what it is that happened to them in the past, and you kind of see that there is a very strong sexual tension there. Like there is some shit in between those two, and it's interesting seeing that. And Mac was also pretty interesting, but on his own. Like, he doesn't have a love interest this season, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I think Yo-Yo comes in either this season or last season. I'm not sure. I can't really remember. But Mac, really, for this season, is on his own. I really liked Mac. He was just a really down-to-earth guy. Triplet, who is not really new for this season. He's kind of new for last season. He's kind of like an oldish character. Anyway, he is a returning character from last season. He's great, but I just really like Mac. He's kind of like the gentle giant of the group, because he is pretty big. Now, I mentioned earlier that I liked how this season started off. One of the things that I liked about this season was seeing Fitz trying to recover, like seeing him recovering from what happened at the end of last season. He was without oxygen for quite a while, and that's left his brain a little damaged. So it was interesting seeing him working around S.H.I.E.L.D, trying to like just do stuff, and even having Mac come along and help him. That was that they were kind of great together. Seeing Fitz just trying to do some work, and Mac just, you know, basically being a good buddy to him and like nudging him along. That was great. And it was interesting seeing Simmons come back, because when she comes back, she sort of left a little bit because she was undercover at Hydra. And I'm not going to say anything more about that, but when she comes back after that mission, I don't know how to say it. I was just like freaking out. It's like I really want these two to get together, but this is an issue that has to be dealt with. There is some shit that needs to be talked about or treated before we get to. I mean, these guys, it takes fucking 3 seasons for them to get together. I'm so invested in their romance. I just am. Now this season has a lot to be liked. The one thing that I noticed right away that I actually kind of was really interested in is seeing S.H.I.E.L.D. rebuild itself. Now this S.H.I.E.L.D. is not the same S.H.I.E.L.D. that it once was. It's not the same S.H.I.E.L.D. that we saw in any of the Iron Man movies, Thor, Captain America, the Avengers. It's nothing like that. This is a new S.H.I.E.L.D. It's rebuilding. They don't have the resources to do what they once did. So it was really interesting seeing just like they've already established S.H.I.E.L.D. in the MCU. So it was interesting seeing them trying to just get shit done. Like even the simplest thing that they have trouble with, and it was very serious at times, but they also played it off for humor quite a couple times, and that was really funny because you look at this situation like, well, shit, man, we're meant to be an international intelligence organization that deals with extraterrestrials, but we can't even do the simplest thing, and that was very interesting and serious to see that. But it was also funny, like for example, the conversation that Coulson had with General Talbot, who I will say Talbot is a character that I have steadily started to like more as the seasons come out. I like Talbot, I'm just saying that now. But the conversation that Coulson and Talbot, one of the conversations that they had in this season was Coulson just saying, hey, we've got a whole lot more resources than you think. But when he gets on the Quinjet, he's like, let's go before we run out of gas. It's like, it was very funny how they played with the whole idea of S.H.I.E.L.D. rebuilding itself. And another part that I really liked was seeing Skye reunite, or like seeing Skye reunite with her father. This is something that she's been searching for ever since season 1, and this is like a 2-season story arc for her. So it was great to see her father come back. One thing I will say is that there was a lot of emotion. This story of hers really got to me. Like, I was kind of emotional seeing this happen. But the first problem that I have with this season is actually her father and the story he goes on. Now, one of the things that that season 1 ended on was Raina, a character in the show, Raina meeting up with Skye's father. And the season kind of ended on that with a couple other things that it ended on, but that was one of the things that ended on. So the implication was that this season was going to focus heavily on Skye's family, on Skye and her family, the whatever it is that was going to happen, right? Like there was going to be some family drama, and that's what I wanted. That's what I was expecting going into season 2, and that's, for the most part, that's what I got. But what happens is the writers kind of go on some strange detours, like they do some really weird shit that doesn't really have anything to do with the family drama between Skye and her father. It's just her father bringing together a ragtag team of bad guys to do some bad guy stuff in a town that no one really cares about. Like, there is an entire episode where that shit actually happens. I mean, like, I don't know how else to put it. It was just really stupid that they went on this whole episode. They just went completely off track, and I lost all emotion at that point. All the emotion that I had built up and felt towards Skye's father, you know, him kind of being like, he was interesting because he was angry and kind of psychotic, but you hear that he was not always like this. He was a nice guy. He was normal. He loved and cared people. But something happened to make him like this. And that was also interesting because then we were getting to know him. And also it would build it would add to the already established family drama between Skye and her father, Cal. Cal is his name. So I really liked that, but then it went on a strange detour on, like, as I said, an entire episode devoted to him and his team of baddies doing baddie things. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, it didn't amount to anything. It didn't have anything to do with the story at all. It was just a weird detour off what they should have been doing. Okay, so this second problem is a big problem, and there's a lot involved in this, and it happens kind of halfway in the middle of the season or during the end, but it's a problem that started to arise as the episodes kept coming out. And this is too big for me to just say, so I'm just gonna have to read it. So the other big problem that I had with this season was pretty much not the entire second half, but some of the strange detours that it went on. Like, the season starts off with S.H.I.E.L.D. taking on Hydra, and Hydra trying to eliminate S.H.I.E.L.D. And beneath that the main story of S.H.I.E.L.D. taking on Hydra and Hydra taking on S.H.I.E.L.D., there are smaller stories like Skye and her father, and the team trying to find this underground city built by the Kree. Both of these stories lead to the introduction of the Inhumans. They interconnect and lead up to this Inhuman reveal. Now, how all the stories connect is that, firstly, Coulson's carvings led S.H.I.E.L.D. to the city. The other side of that coin is that Hydra had the obelisk, which is a MacMuffin, film MacMuffin. It's just a thing. So this MacMuffin that Hydra has, called the obelisk, led them to this city as well. Now, the one leading this small faction of Hydra was Daniel Whitehall, and Cal was the one who gave Whitehall the obelisk, which inevitably led them to the city, as I stated. Now, Whitehall dies. Quick side note, I would have liked to have seen more of him because I found him to be quite a good villain. Nevertheless, anyway, Skye becomes Inhuman, which alerts the Inhumans that are hidden in a place called Afterlife. And this hidden group of Inhumans take Cal, Skye's father, and Skye herself, but as it turns out, this little hidden group of the Inhumans is being led by none other than Skye's mother, who has a kind of grudge against humanity, which ends up being a fight between S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Inhumans. This is kind of great for the story because that puts Skye right in the middle between two sides of the conflict that are essentially her family. But leading up to this point, the story introduces a second faction of fucking S.H.I.E.L.D. A second S.H.I.E.L.D. that was not sanctioned by Fury or anyone else higher than them, and that thinks that Coulson's need to find the city was based purely on madness. Not only is their entire argument flawed, but this whole thing doesn't make any sense. The origin of this second S.H.I.E.L.D. started when Bobby was apparently given orders by Nick Fury himself to destroy the ship that her and her team was stationed on the day that S.H.I.E.L.D. fell. Now, this doesn't make sense, mainly because S.H.I.E.L.D., the amount of people that Fury actually trusts is, I think, limited to the amount of fingers that he has on his hand. Think about that. This is a character, Bobby is a character that Fury has never interacted with before, never mentioned before. He just does not actually know this person. So why would he entrust her with a mission like this? It makes no fucking sense right off the bat, and it overcomplicates the story more than what it should be, right? If you take out the entire second half, if you take out the entire second faction of S.H.I.E.L.D., completely get rid of that storyline, then all it would be was Hydra, S.H.I.E.L.D., Inhumans. That's what it should be. The second faction of S.H.I.E.L.D. does not need to be in this season. It shouldn't be in the season because it overcomplicates the plot more than what it already is, And it actually doesn't make sense, the origin of this second faction of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually doesn't make sense in the first place. And might I also add, it kinda makes you question the characters that you've actually grown to love. That being Bobby and Mac. Anyway, this video has been going for way too long. Just in quick summary, for the most part I like this season. But there are just a lot of there is a lot of shit that happens at the end of the season that is a little confusing and pointless, and takes the story and other smaller stories in directions that it shouldn't be going. And that's really all I got to say about this season, is that for the most part it's good. A little bit of it actually kind of has a really big bad impact on the season. Anyway, that's it for this review. I will see you in my review for Ant-Man. Definitely.